Welcome to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning for Wednesday, June 18th. I'm your host, Tom Orr. The Texas game is in 73 days. The game against Michigan in 164 days. If you're planning your next event, make it unforgettable with Grateful Griddle, Columbus's favorite food truck, serving up smash burgers, gourmet sandwiches, and good vibes. Book your catering today at gratefulgriddleoh.com. Joined by Marc Givler here inside the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. The final summer camp of the season it just ended. There were a ton of very, very impressive players to see. We're going to have multiple shows about just this camp coming up for you this week. So there's going to be a lot to talk about. There's going to be a whole Skull Session recruiting podcast episode as well. So tons of recruiting to talk about. On this show, we are just talking quarterbacks. So there have been two different quarterbacks that I think are kind of towards the top of Ohio State's board for 2028 right now. Mons and Neiman Lawrence. Both of them were here the last 2 days. Mons was here on Monday. He was there for a 7-on-7. Lawrence was here for a camp on Tuesday. So before we get into the actual players, what are different things you learn watching someone in 7-on-7 versus watching someone in a camp setting?
I think the biggest thing is processing. When you're doing one-on-ones or just drills on air, they don't have to process. Like, they know exactly where the ball is going. They know exactly, it's robotic. It's muscle memory. When you're in a 7-on-7, which I know is imperfect, I'm not sitting here trying to tell everyone that it's like the end-all be-all in evaluation, but you do have some level of processing. There's a clock that you have to get the ball out. So I was able to get a little more kind of from Champ of just his ability to quickly process. But outside of that, both tremendous players.
All right, so let's start with Champ Mons. He was here on Monday for that 7-on-7. Give us a little scouting report on him. Where is he from? What stands out about his game?
Yeah, Vero Beach, Florida, freshman starter at Vero Beach. So
that's a pretty big school to be a freshman starter.
Correct. So he's a big time player. Big kid, broad shoulders. 6'3", 6'4", very solid. Kind of your prototypical, kind of classic quarterback build. Great arm. He's extremely accurate. I was kind of joking with someone, we were watching him, and toward the end of the day, he overthrew a ball. I'm like, I think that's the first incompletion he threw. And it was like his fourth game that I had watched. So very accurate. And what was super impressive about his performance was he was on the house team. Mm-hmm. And so this is just a mix and mash of like all different, 20 different kids that have never played together in their lives. Mm-hmm. And so the timing and the chemistry and just quickly installing some type of offense before the camp was all sorts of interesting. So, but he really put on a clinic, and we have video of that on the YouTube channel that you guys can watch as well. And we got an interview with him that'll be up on the YouTube channel as well by now, so you can get to learn more about him as a player and a person. Very mature kid.
So where did things stand with him in Ohio State? What were his thoughts on being at Ohio State? Everyone seems to enjoy working with Ryan Day and Billy Fessler and the whole coaching staff. What were his thoughts on Ohio State, and where do things maybe stand with him and his recruitment?
Yeah, so super early. He's not given any hints on that. They're very methodical. His dad and grandfather were both professional athletes. His dad played Major League Baseball. His grandfather played football, played in the NFL. So they're going to take their time and be very thorough with the process, but he really does enjoy Ohio State. It's one of those situations where he's not going to tell you, like, yeah, Ohio State's right near the top of my list, but look where he's visiting. This was the first place he visited all month. Mm-hmm. He's been there twice. He's been here twice now since April. Mm-hmm. So he's visiting Ohio State as much as he's visiting any other school, and Ohio State is, however many miles from Vero Beach we are, it's a haul. So I think that tells you a lot about his early impressions of Ohio State. And he has nothing but good things to say about kind of the environment here. He likes the family atmosphere. Obviously, TJ Alford's kind of a big brother to him, Ohio State freshman linebacker, so he's getting some feedback there as well. So I think Ohio State's going to be very much in that race as long as they want to be. And like I said, it was my first time seeing him throw in person. He's a heck of a talent, and he got a lot of time in. Billy Fessler was coaching the house team.
Mm-hmm. So how nicely that worked out.
How convenient that Billy Fessler was coaching the house team. But so he was coaching the house team, and then Ryan Day was out there working. Ryan Day, I think, was a voluntary offensive coordinator when he felt like it. And then, of course, he would go back into the Woody and do whatever he does. But so he got a lot of one-on-one attention from those two guys.
It's funny. I was looking for pictures of Billy Fessler a while ago, and one of the few I had from this time last year was him and Chip Kelly and Ryan Day all together, and they were all watching one of these quarterbacks at a 7-on-7. When someone is in here that is a priority, it is not hard to figure out who the priorities. We talk about kids watch what they do, not what they say. And Mons has been here twice since April, which tells you a lot. Watch where the coaches are watching, and you kind of know what Ohio State's thinking as well. There was a lot of attention today on Tuesday on Neiman Lawrence, what also tells you that, hey, they think quite a bit of him as well. What did you see out of Neiman Lawrence, and what should people know about him?
Yeah, so this was the first time I saw Champ throw. I had seen, we visited with Champ down in the spring, obviously, but this was not the first time I've seen Neiman throw. But it's a show every time. He's not as big physically as Champ, but I don't know that it's possible to spin a football better than he does. It's a beautiful thing to watch him throw a football. It's, I'd like to get more technical than that, but just like the way the ball just comes out and just spins with the velocity he puts on it, it is a beautiful thing to watch him throw a football. Yeah.
And he just wrapped up his freshman year as well. These are 2028s we're talking about. So, he just wrapped up his freshman year as well. Where is he in his process? Because he's another guy who he's coming from further away than Vero Beach, and he's someone we've seen here 4 or 5 times probably. At least multiple games during. You see him come down the tunnel during the season. I think we saw him at camp last year here. This is not an easy trip. You see him here. Once again, it kind of tells you if you're here over and over and over again, you're at least seriously looking at Ohio State. Do you have a sense for where his recruitment is right now?
Yeah, I think he's further along than Champ in terms of that. He got on the radar a little bit earlier. People were making a big deal about him last year going into his 9th grade year. And so he's in the South Florida Express program, so he's tight with a lot of those guys. He's been able to go on a lot of those visits with that group. So I think he's seen more to this point. Ohio State is definitely up there for him. I think Miami's one to watch. But, would I take those two over the rest of the field this early? I don't know, just because of the way the dominoes fall, and one could affect the other, and who commits first at this school, and there's so many things that impact recruiting at a quarterback that you don't really think about as far as like a lineman or a receiver or something. But I think those are two to really keep an eye on right now. And he continues to say great things about Ohio State. And again, the South Florida Express connection has only helped Ohio State get him on campus a bunch here.
Yeah, you think through all the South Florida Express kids, and there's just so many of them who have been here over the years. And you see Brian Hartline with his South Florida Express sweatshirt and his cigar every time there's a commitment, and so there's obviously quite a connection there between those two programs, and sounds like it could continue. We saw some really top level receivers here that have some South Florida Express connections, and Chaminade Madonna, which has produced a Ohio State wide receiver of some consequence in the past. So we'll have plenty more to talk about with those guys. You'll be able to hear that on the Skull Session Recruiting Podcast. Mark and Tony will have an episode of that dropping probably just a little later on after you watch this one, and then we'll also have much more in terms of Buckeyes TomOrrow Morning podcast. We're talking about recruiting this week. Got at least one commitment decision coming later this week. Sincere Johnson, the linebacker out of Cleveland Glenville, making his decision later this week. But a lot of recruiting. This is the busy time of year for recruiting, so that would make this a great time to become a member of BuckeyeHuddle.com, because we have our whole team covering recruiting, plus we got our team covering the team, plus we got our team covering X's and O's. We got it all for you at BuckeyeHuddle.com. We hope to see you there. That'll do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.